Hello and welcome to an audio episode of Men and Women Talk, the Margina Show. I am your host, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I'm so happy to be here with you fine people today. I am joined by a wonderful panel of human beings, and I'm so happy to have them here with me. Now, just as some programming notes, this is our last day on Monday. I know we've always, since the show started, I've always had the show on Mondays. We are now starting next Wednesday, which is let me make sure I say it right, the 24th. We will be doing our show on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And I have a new co-host. She goes by the name of Mosaic Star. I'm very excited to have her join us for the program. So we have a lot of great shows coming up for you. Now, with that said, let me introduce my panel. And we always start off with the ladies first. And we're going to, our returning champ, this lady, Tori Rush. She's a podcaster herself. How you doing, Tori?
I'm great. How are you tonight, Kente?
I am excellent. I'm glad to have you back on the program.
Yeah, me too. I'm super stoked.
All right, all right. And new to the show, this is
No.
Sherelle. And tell us a little bit about yourself, being this is the first time you.
I hate talking about myself. So I'm from Denver. I do have a podcast, although I have been slacking on it lately. Have a lot of other things going on that I have to actually tend to in real life. So kind of been on hold a little bit. But I live in Denver and I don't know, I'm boring.
Boring.
Super
I don't. You seem like a very exciting woman. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say on
I
this
have a lot to
program
say,
tonight.
but that doesn't mean that I'm not boring.
That's right. All right, so let's get to the gentleman. This man, look, I love and respect all you guys. But this guy, I mean, he's doing big things now, up to 2,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. What's up? And this brother, he's a father, he's a minister, he's a podcaster, and he's a teacher as well in the great state of New York. It's the one and only Andre. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. Privileged to be here also. Hopefully, I can add something of substance to the conversation today.
All right, I love it, man. I love it. Now, this gentleman too, he's another one. He's one of the busiest men in broadcasting in Canada, holding it down too. He's an MC. Yeah, I said it. He's an MC. He's a podcaster, a father as well. And everybody's a parent on the show tonight, and also just the all around wonderful human being is a returning champ, the one and only Ryan Perez. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, Kente and everyone? It's nice to be here.
Love it. I love it. I'm glad that you are here. Now, tonight's topic I think is a really good one because a lot of these topics come from personal experiences with myself or conversations I have with different people. And I thought, this might be an interesting place to go with this. And what's up? Artis is in the house. What's up, Artis? Excuse me, I have an ice maker in this room, and I should have turned it off. So if you hear ice being made in the back, that's what it is. But I'm that lazy. I gotta have an ice maker in my office. But don't judge me. But so I wanted to talk about making up, right? About actually getting to a point, having conflict with somebody. Now, because this show is primarily about relationships, so a lot of this is going to be about how we do this in the guise of a relationship. But also, we can talk on a broader sense of dealing with people who are in non-romantic situations. What does that look like, and how you can achieve these things? So, just a little story time. I had a situation with a woman I was dating quite some time ago, where I won't get into the specifics, but I didn't cheat, but I did something that wasn't great for the relationship. I'll leave it at that. And so me and this person, we were having a great relationship. Everything was going well. And then I screwed up, right? I really did. I screwed up. And so I apologized. I did everything, to try to win her trust back and all of this kind of stuff. And we talked about it and all of that kind of stuff. And then, the relationship was never right. It just never could be right after that point because, I broke a trust with her. And also it just didn't go. And it's always kind of stuck with me that what happened there, because although we supposedly got beyond it or came to some sort of understanding about it, it never really, it never really happened, right? Uh-oh. Okay. So I want to start off with you, Andre. Um, when you have conflict within a relationship, and you realize you don't want it to end, you want to move forward. What are some steps that a person who did the offense can go to possibly make amends and move forward?
Well, the first thing is that they should go in without expecting the person to want to stay in a relationship.
Mm.
If they've offended, then they have to be willing for that to happen, because then you got to give that person space to make that decision themselves. Also, a big thing is that the person really should not go in there with the mindset that I'm going to try to make things right and I'm going to do things that I need to do to make it right. What they need to do is humble themselves and say, okay, I know I hurt you. What is it that you need from me to show you that I am sorry and that I want to make it work? Because you know how some people, it seems like the person who does the oppressor is usually the one who wants to tell the oppressed how they should react to being oppressed. So, uh, going into a relationship, if you've offended the person that you're in a relationship with, you need to go to them and don't, without the attitude that, well, I'm trying to make this right. You need to just accept it. No, you need to humble yourself and allow them to tell you what they need from you so that you can make it right.
Mm-hmm. Sherelle, I can imagine, you've dated quite a bit, so you've probably had these situations come up. What is it that you're looking for when somebody's effed up? They just effed up. Maybe it's not something that's one of those things where it's done, but there might be a path back to redemption. What is it that you're looking for in someone?
Definitely ownership in what you did to make me feel the way I'm feeling in the first place. But I definitely have to agree with what Andre said in terms of don't go into this expecting, if you've done something wrong to someone, don't go into it expecting that they automatically are supposed to forgive you for whatever it is that you did, because it might not be something that I might be willing to forgive you, but that doesn't mean that I'm willing to continue on with what we've been doing.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? And I'm going to ask you this as a follow-up question. In your experience with dating men, what are some mistakes you've noticed men make generally in trying to get back on your good graces and stuff like that drives you crazy?
I would just say that they're not genuine in being sorry for what it is that they've done. They just don't want, like you said, they don't want the relationship to end, but they're not really genuinely actually sorry for what they did. They're more so sorry that they got caught and actually offended me than they are that they actually did what it was in the first place. That's probably the biggest one for me.
What about you, Tori? The same question. What are some things that drive you nuts about when men try to get back on your good side after they effed up?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm more of the person that has messed up in the past. So, when I was younger, I would try to compromise. I would try to justify my actions. I would try to beg and plead and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, like, if I'm going to continue on with the behavior, it's never going to, I didn't change. I kept doing the same thing. So, I would get drunk or I would act a fool, and then he would get mad, and then I would continue to do that because I wasn't learning my lesson. Like, it took me growing up to stop, So I can't really say that, like, I expected anything from him because I knew I hurt him, like nowadays I would be like, okay, like I would do it a little bit differently. But is that what you were asking? Because I feel like I didn't answer.
No. I mean, and you were being honest about that. You've been a lot of times the person that needed to make amends. So that's being honest. A lot of people are not really honest about that. It's always someone else's fault. That drives me nuts. It's never no accountability, and that's what Stephanie says in the chat. No accountability or no change behavior. Yeah.
Can we chime in?
Sure, please.
Yeah, like that whole thing that you just said, right? So like, and then as evidence that they don't want to change, they'll bring up, things that you've done in the past that hurt them at that specific moment.
Right.
So, or if they offended, right? They want to bring that up. Well, I know it hurt you, right? But you know how like last year, like, in the beginning of the year, I know it was like, 23 months ago, to the day, but I'm saying, like you really can't be mad at me for doing this because you did that and it hurt my feelings too. So I think we should just let bygones be bygones and move on. No, like we got to stop doing that too.
Amen. That's for sure.
I just want to say too, Stephanie says in the comments, her mom does that. It's definitely not just romantic relationships that happens in.
Right. That's for sure. What about you, Ryan? You seem like a pretty even-handed guy, probably understanding. What drives you crazy when someone is, made you upset and they're trying to make up with you, but you don't feel like they're doing, such a good job with you?
Can you rephrase that question? Because it's hard to, go ahead.
So like, when people have messed up to you, and they're supposedly trying to make things right, but they're not necessarily doing a good job of it in your estimation. It still makes you upset.
Well, I think for me, it's just the continuation, because I think that when people tell you sorry means that they're not going to do it again, and I think when people say sorry for, and then, after a couple of days, they resume back to the original behavior, that personally gets me upset. I think that, I'm a pretty forgiving person. I don't like to hold too much grudges. I kind of like peace. I kind of like to move on. But I feel like also when you bring up additional stuff, or you try to, if you're sorry, you're sorry. You don't have to bring up extra stuff. You don't have to say, well, you did this, and because you're pretty much justifying your behavior, and if you're justifying the behavior, you're not really sorry.
Not at all. That's for sure. Now, sometimes this is the thing that drives me nuts is I hate being handled. And now, do you guys know what I mean by being handled? Is like they know you feel some kind of way because you've been wrong. So instead of being really like genuine with you, they handle you. They try to play to, because let's say you have an intimate relationship with this person, whether it's romantic or non-romantic, they know kind of where your buttons are. They know kind of how you, so then they kind of handle you, and they kind of try to guide you into a place where possibly they can get away with whatever BS they did. And it drives me nuts when I feel like I'm being handled. And I want to ask the panel, like, have you ever felt like you were being handled by someone rather than them being genuine? And how do you react to that, being handled? You want to go, Andrew? It seems like you.
Oh, because I don't want to take over. Like, I would like to hear somebody else's, and then I'll probably respond. That's okay.
Tori, you want to go? Have you ever felt like you've been handled?
Yeah, like when people try to calm down, it's not that bad. Oh my God. Like I have anxiety really bad, and like when people are like, just calm down. Never in the history of ever has telling somebody with an anxiety problem to calm down work. I'm just
Why are you
telling
so
you that.
sensitive?
Yeah.
Why are you so sensitive? Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're taking it too personally. Personally, you just called me this nasty name. Come on now, like it's like a slap in the face. And then like whenever they bring up things that they know that is going to upset you, like you said, pushing buttons, like oh well, you should just go take some of your crazy pills. Oh, or this is the best one. Are you PMSing?
I hate that. I
Oh
absolutely
my
hate
gosh.
that.
Like it drives me nuts. Like please, I'm not crazy. Don't try to gaslight me. Like I know what I'm saying. I'm
Don't
completely
equate my
lucid.
emotions to just being a woman.
Yes, I'm allowed to feel things. I'm not a complete zombie. Like oh my God, it drives me nuts. But then like I haven't had to deal with that in a while, but I will say this. Okay, so I had to block my ex the other night because okay, I'm going to say this without trying to get too graphic, but I'm sober. I'm 9 months sober, and he was talking about drinking, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't be around you when you're drinking. And he goes to me, well, you're a pussy if you can't be around me when I'm drinking. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, are you really being for real? Like, I'm trying to work on my sobriety, and like, this is like a big deal to me. And like, this is what you say to me. And he had no idea why I was upset, like, at all. And I'm like, so like face palm, like for real. And like, so I just told him, like, I can't talk to you anymore. Like you totally don't get what I'm doing. You don't care where I'm at in my life. You want to continue to drink and that's fine. You do you. And I blocked him from everything.
That guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. What about you, Shara? Have you ever felt like you were being handled?
Unfortunately, yes. Just don't do it. Like once you do that, I feel like the gloves come off on my end too, because it's like you're basically saying screw me, because you know if this person if I'm feeling this type of way about whatever this person has done, obviously we're close enough, like you said, for you to know what buttons you're pushing and how you're upsetting me or why you're upsetting me. These things.
Mhm.
And then to just try to play me like that, like just don't do it. The gloves come off, and then at that point, for me, because I am where I am in my life and I've gone through the things that I've gone through, I will always choose my peace. So I'm just gonna walk away from this situation. There's only so much fixing we can do, and just that type of behavior is just not healthy in general, right? If you're not willing to be an adult about a situation and own the things that you've done, that ownership is really, really important for me. But if it comes to that point and you feel the need to carry me like that, then for me, it's just a no-go. I can't deal with you at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think those are signs of, and I know, like, I think for the past 2 or 3 years, this has probably been the word of the year, that and nuance. Narcissist. Like that is textbook narcissism. Like textbook. Like you look it up, that kind of behavior, those characteristics, very narcissistic, and that's stuff that we need to be careful of in relationships, because they know how to handle people. They spend time with you, they learn you, and then they exploit that for their gain. So when they do something that offends you, they'll do things that belittle your feelings, or call you the other word for a little cat. Like, I can't believe he said that, yo.
And they know
Like,
exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing.
yeah, and it's crazy. Like that's and a lot of people don't realize that they're being handled. Some of them think that they're just insensitive. No, there's a motive. There's an ulterior motive for them acting that way. There's insensitivity. Insensitivity is making a joke in a crowd and not realizing that somebody, like a joke about dead people, not realizing that somebody may have just passed away that was close to somebody that's in the crowd. That was an insensitive joke, right? Narcissism, right, and handling somebody is premeditated. So
Right.
if they know they're about to offend you, they have already drafted up the lie and backups behind it to handle you, like already.
Right,
And if they
right.
know certain keywords will trigger you, they'll use it. Like the whole PMS thing, right? If they know that a man, and it works both ways. So we're not here trying to just, at least I'm not here trying to attack men, but a man would say, okay, think to yourself, I know this is going to trigger her. I'm about to end this argument quick. You PMSing? Like, is everything all right? Right? All of a sudden, she's walking away and he's like, yes. So yeah, you just got handled.
Next thing you know, your head is in between the washer and dryer, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. See, I knew you was PMSing. I knew it.
I love it. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's definitely things you got to think about. And here's the thing, that it's very hard in the space of a relationship to share a lot about what happened before, what happened later. I mean, what happened before, and in other previous relationships, and maybe some things that you've gone through and stuff. And one of the worst things that can happen is you share it with someone you think that you feel safe to, and then they somehow use it back to give themselves cover. So it's like, wait a minute, all of a sudden you're using maybe when I was abused when I was younger, or you're using something that maybe you went through in a relationship, or a depression that you went through, and it makes you feel like not safe. And then unfortunately it carries on to other relationships too. And we deal with people who have like the shrapnel of previous relationships. And it's very, it's very interesting how we do that, and sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. And I've done it. I've been guilty. I've been guilty of carrying on some BS from other relationships and moving it over and stuff. But going back to our topic, making up, and I'm gonna start off with you, Ryan. How do you know it's worth it to even try? Like, have you ever offended somebody, either romantic, non-romantic? You offended them, but then you thought to yourself, let me just let this lie. I'm not going to even try to make this right. Am I being a douche for doing that?
Well, you know what? There's situations. There was a previous relationship before my last relationship where there's at a point where, the manipulation happened so much that I just, pretty much gave up and didn't give a damn. And I said, okay, bye. Because, like, just as, being handled, like Dre was saying, like a narcissist kind of like knows how to, can premeditate your actions. You can start seeing, because they think in systems, they operate in systems. And you can start seeing their patterns. And I was seeing this person's patterns. We're cool now, and we actually have a better respect for each other. Now that, like a year or so has gone by. But I think for me, I just like, there's a point where, it's different. Like when being an entrepreneur, it's like when someone's not an entrepreneur, they got a lot of time on their hands to think about a lot of things that I wish I had the privilege to think about. Like, what am I eating for dinner? And like, when are we going to go to the mall? And things like those things that people think of when they don't have priorities. And I don't really have the time to really like go back and forth with a person after, if I offend you, and if it's and normally it's because I'm saying the truth. It is what it is. I ain't got time. And it's not that I don't have the time. It's just that like I got other pressures and other issues that are going on in my life that I just don't have much time to devote to, making it work if the relationship is falling apart.
I mean, do you ever feel like that, Sherelle? Like where
Oh yeah, absolutely.
maybe you stepped in it, but then you're like, you know what? I ain't gonna even try to put this back together. It's just,
Absolutely. I feel like it gets to a point again where just the back and forth is just like, you know what? Like, I'm not doing this with you. And a lot of the times I hate to even say this because, we're living in a society where, of course, cancel culture is real. But it's just sometimes it's really not worth it. Like sometimes people really are being, in my opinion, super unnecessarily sensitive. I've even been, super unnecessarily sensitive. So it just comes down to like, is it really that big of a deal? And is it really worth this friendship? And if you're going to, like, I've had instances where, somebody's constantly brought up something that's happened. And it's like, okay, if you can't let this go, like, I'm not going to keep kissing your butt. Like, I've already done what I feel like I can do to make this right. I've asked you, what you need from me to fix this. And you've given me these things. But every time I've done those things, you still continue to bring up whatever it is that, is the issue. So I'm not going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. There's been many times where I've just said, you know what, it is what it is. I know people hate it when you say it is what it is.
Sometimes that's what it is, though.
It is what it is, it is what it is. And it gets for me, it gets a little harder when it's family because I'm a big family person.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't cancel mama. I mean, some people have, but
I can't. I will. Anybody that disrupts my peace and my balance, you gotta go.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gets crazy. What's up, Todd?
Yes, that's one of my brothers, Todd Banks. That's one of my bros. What's going on, bro?
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, some relationships you kind of will fight for, and others you'll just say, "Hey, chalk it up to the game." So, but this is going back to kind of like the manipulation thing. This is something me personally I can't stand, but I'm really interested. I'm gonna ask the guys this, but I really want to ask the ladies this. I'm gonna start with Sherelle and then go to Tori. What about when the guy cries and he's like, "Sherelle, don't leave me, Sherelle."
I've actually never I've never had a guy cry, so I can't.
Really? Oh, okay.
I've always been the crier. I'm a crybaby, believe it or not. I'm a really emotional person. I'll own that, but I've never had a guy cry for. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. How would you react though to that? Would that be like?
I don't know. It really depends on the situation and where we're at, and because I never want to make anyone feel like they can't show emotion around me or they can't have feelings, they can't cry, because that's not the case, because we're all human at the end of the day. So I don't know. It really just depends on how, why, what, why are you crying? Are you crying because literally you spilled the milk, or are you crying for some real stuff?
Like he's because he just realized he had a good thing, and that
Right.
thing is not going out the door.
And if and that's fine if you're sincere about it, and you're being genuine about crying, and you're not just like putting on a show, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Tori? Have you ever made a guy cry? I know you made guys.
Yeah. And I'm like, there. No. I get uncomfortable when anybody cries. So I don't know what to do. I'm standing there like, there's this one meme, and it's like this girl, she's like hunched over. She's hunched over a toilet, and it looks like she's puking or really upset. This guy has like a broom, and he's like touching her shoulder, and it says there. Like, that's kind of how I feel in most of the situations. But like, For some reason, like every time a guy cries around me, I'm like, man, buck up. Really? Is it happening? Like I don't mean to sound so callous, but you're crying over something like not that like it doesn't make me want to cry, it makes me want to laugh, and I think that's a little sadistic of me. Like
hilarious. I mean, it is also a tactic too, by the way, the whole crying piece.
Yes, I know your game, buddy. I know what you're up to.
Yeah. Like, I never showed emotion before, but now it's like, oh, don't leave me, Tori. You know. Like,
yeah. Where did this come from? Yesterday you were talking about fat booty bitches, right?
Right, and now you're Mr. Cry Guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if the fellas, if you guys ever cried or it made a woman cry because you didn't want to be with them anymore, or something like to that effect.
Yes to both.
Okay.
Yeah, yes to both. Now, here's the thing, though, right? If I cry once in front of a lady, and she ridicules me for it, she will never, ever, ever see me cry again.
Right.
Won't happen.
Right.
At that point, I have to protect myself. Like Sherelle, you want peace above all else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is if a man is willing to cry in front of a lady, genuinely, like let that emotion out and cry, he has found something in her that's worth trusting.
Right.
If he cries and he's met with ridicule and he's seen as weak, then after that, if he becomes cold, if he becomes detached, then the reason why he's done that is because he has to protect himself from you.
Yeah.
So, but crying very well, like again, people in general can use crying as a tactic to manipulate. They've cheated and got somebody else pregnant, and all of a sudden,
it's over anyway. At that
point. He's crying and he's trying to pull your heartstrings and all that stuff, and then want to cry and all that stuff. People can do it, but here's the thing, though, right? And I'm not sure, ladies. I hope I don't offend you, but I find that even better than men when it comes to crying are women, and using that as a means to manipulate a situation. So
I'm a bad girlfriend. What can I do?
No, let's go. Let's not even use it in relationships.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna ask you guys this. All right. Have you or do you know of any of your girlfriends who have ever gotten pulled over by the cops and the first thing they did was cry? They didn't even go straight to their sexual appeal. They went straight into tears, and the officer was like, "All right, listen, stop. I'll just let you off with a warning. Just go." Okay.
I don't want to. I'm black. They don't care about that. They do not care about no tears. They do not care.
They're like dry tears.
If I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail whether I cry or not. So.
You know what?
Dry those tears with this ticket.
Yeah. Good. And make sure that you're not wearing mascara because we are taking your picture just like that.
Yes, they do not care.
Yeah, but crying could definitely be a tactic, but for men, especially if they're not accustomed to showing emotions, and they're starting to, if they've given that because the thing is, I think women don't look at it as a privileged place to be in a man's life. Trust me, for a man who has dealt with trauma in the past, who deals with trusting women, he lets you into that space. That is something to cherish and hold on to. Because he's showing you in that specific moment that he trusts you, and that's an opportunity for you to take what he's giving you, and not after he's cheated. If he cries after he's cheated, he's manipulating you.
Right, he's trying to manipulate.
But if he's crying for, for something else, then I think you should cherish it.
Now. What about you, Ryan? Have you ever had a girl you felt like was crying for a tactically crying?
All the time. But, the thing is, I keep on saying I live in Calgary, and, especially when I'm dealing with women outside my cultural group, crying seems to be something that is quite apparent, and because the privilege is different, like, you know, because when I'm dating with women in my community, you know, like it takes a lot for them to cry. It takes a lot for them to get to that headspace because, you know, there are pressures and things that we've dealt with, whether in our childhood, that we just like, you know, there's just little things. But when I've had situations where, you know, girlfriends would just cry over this most ridiculous things. And because you don't want them to cry, because they know, like, if they cry loud enough, even people automatically think that you're the aggressor, you know, as being a black man. So I've been in that situation a lot, to the point where I don't even want to be in those type of relationships anymore, because, you know, in even like, because I have a register with my voice. My mentor was he's a master bluesman. He told me to stand in front of that wall and keep on singing until you hear your voice echo back. So my voice registers and echoes. So when I'm like worked up, or we're, you know, talking about something, sometimes it's loud. And they're like, "Why are you yelling at me?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not yelling at you. and I say exactly like this. I'm not yelling at you."
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Like, yes, you are. Look at the tone. You're gonna have to tone down the voice. And I'm like, okay. And then I shut down. I'm just like, at this point, I just don't want to say anything, because it's like, you know, but dealing with people in my community, they understand. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't yell at people, and I don't, most of the arguments that I've been in, it's over like stupid things, like whether we should have Christmas or not, right? Like, you know, well, Christmas is a big deal, but I've had an argument over Christmas because I personally don't like to celebrate Christmas. Right. But, you know, and it's more for reasons due to slavery and all this other stuff, like, you know, like just due to white supremacy and whatnot. I don't want to celebrate it, and then it's a big issue. But we could be crying over other things like that have bigger impact. You know what I mean? But maybe I'm just, as I'm talking it out loud, maybe like I should not shame the other person for wanting that. But I think that like in I've been in those situations a lot, and I feel and now I look at it as highly manipulative.
Yeah, highly manipulative. Now, being that Sherelle, this is her first time on the show, you get the first crack at this one.
Oh gosh.
Now there is this thought in relationships, and we're talking about romantic relationships specifically with this one, that there is an advantage to making up, because possibly the adult time with the person might be more intense. Have you ever heard that theory?
Of course, I think we all have.
Break up to make up. You know, sometimes what they say, the makeup is better than the average or whatever. Is right. You know, there's some people that like a little conflict so that they can, you know, resolve it, you know, with some grown folks action. Now, my question to you is: is there any truth in that? Into you, have you ever experienced that, where, you know what, we went through something, but then the makeup was pretty spectacular, you know, the grown folks time?
Maybe when I was a little bit younger, and I'm not super old now, but maybe when I was a little bit younger. But now it's literally, I need my peace. Like, I don't want to fight with anybody over anything. Like, it's cool to have disagreements about things. You know, you don't like this, I don't like that. Let's discuss it and move on from there. But I don't like conflict. I just don't. Like, I've had enough of it in my life, and it's just not something that I'm interested in dealing with. To me, there's no benefits to it. There's no perks. There's no benefits. You know, it's another fucking headache for me. And it's just not something that I'm willing to deal with. So no, I don't think that there's just to have better sex, we should have a dumbass argument. Like,
I would like you, Tori. Have you ever subscribed to that in your, you know, maybe not now, maybe when you were younger? You know, the idea of, you know what, we lost it. So we'll go with you, Andre. Have you ever experienced some sort of pleasantry out of the breakup, the makeup, or the
Not not me, because again, I'm one that believes in peace, and yeah, you'll become instantly unattractive to me if you know. I'll become instantly unattracted to you at that specific moment, and there's probably nothing you can do, nothing that you can do to get a rise out of me to be able to engage in any kind of intimate moments. Especially after that, we're gonna need a couple of days to iron out our feelings and emotions. But that's just me because I care. Like I really care about you. So before we can get there, I need to know that we're both good.
Mhm.
Like we're both good.
And I'm gonna make I'm gonna make a statement, but I'm gonna go to you, Tori. Have you ever had the electricity of a makeup?
Oh yeah. Like there was definitely I've been in relationships where like when it was good, it was so good. And then whenever it was bad, it was so bad. And then I've also been where like it's so hot and cold, you know what I mean? Like one minute you're like, I love you, and the next minute you're pulling out the butcher knife ready to stab him in the face, you know? Like I've
Yeah.
definitely been in those situations and like I've never really stabbed anybody, guys. Don't get off. But like that's just kind of how like it is for me like and a lot of relationships that I've been in, the passion, but like the passion of making up is like great because like you're like, oh, I forgive you and let's have lots of sex. And then it's great. Like makeup sex is great. Like, especially if you're really angry with everybody, you know?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was in a relationship that was toxic as heck, and the only thing that was great was the angry adult moments we had. I ain't gonna lie. I was in a situation like that where it got to a point where I couldn't stand the person, but I don't know. I couldn't explain it. It was like, we would have our changes, and then, I was younger. I was much younger, and so
that's what I said too. For me, it was younger. It's that
right,
young.
right. So I definitely experienced that, and and then I think that actually kept that kept us together a lot longer than we should have been. We really shouldn't have been with each other at all, but we were, and it was toxic as hell. But I wouldn't do that again. I couldn't do that again. But I guess when you're young, like I used to go to clubs. I used to go to clubs where people get shot every Friday, but I'd go there on a Friday. Ain't that dumb? That's dumb as hell, right? But I was young. It's like, oh, let's go on Friday night. Let's get shot night, and I was there. So
It's like the one that Pookie got shot in last week. Okay,
yeah, let's go, man. Like think about it now.
Yeah.
It's like that was dumb, right? Why would I go to a place like that? But yeah, but I mean, if I started just talking about the things I did when I was younger, and I was a pretty bright person, but I did some dumb stuff when I think about what I did.
I think we all did some dumb stuff when we were younger.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. But okay, so let's talk about this now. I've been in long-standing feuds, right? I'm talking about we're not talking about in relationships. We're talking about where me and JoJo had this disagreement, and we just don't mess with each other no more, right? We don't mess with each other no more, even though we kind of have a similar circle. Oh, JoJo's gonna be at that party. I ain't coming to your party. I've had situations like that, and one thing as I've gotten older, I find that if you want to get rid of those things, and a lot of it is pride because you feel like you were right? Like you're standing in your rightness, right? But you know what? And sometimes I think it does help you spiritually we don't have to be best friends. We don't have to be compadres, but I've actually got on better terms with people that I had long-standing issues with, and I took you know what, even though I felt like they did me wrong, I took the thing and said, look, man, I don't want to continue this, you know, and I've made up with them. And honestly, I feel like sometimes that can actually bring you peace when you do stuff like that. Now, call me crazy or maybe I'm psycho, but I'm gonna start with you, Ryan. Do you think there's anything to what I'm saying?
Well, you said a lot of things. So, what?
Killing some of your beefs, whether you feel like you're right or wrong. But,
Well,
but
you
you,
know what?
you
Most of the times I do, and I have really good standing relationships with a lot of my ex girlfriends. Including my baby mama. I think, you know, I remember Stephanie telling me that I don't date black women, but she's but I do date black women, just for the record. But she is, but she's been. We have a long-standing relationship with my son. We have a long-standing co-parenting relationship. But there was my last relationship that I had was one of the best, like in terms of everything all aligning, but it was one of the worst at the same time because, people were messaging her privately in her DMs and saying, oh, Ryan, we all know Ryan's a narcissist and all these different things that they said about me, which is not true, but it is what it is. Right. And I had to kind of eat that up. And that situation, that whole scenario, it was over one situation of me not taking a phone call because I was in between meetings. And it was just to hear a doctor's result. And I was literally, October was a really bad month for me. I had to I'm a single father here. I had to kind of put my business first. And it turned out to a really bad breakup. Where she was texting me, sending me messages of screenshots of posts that I made on my personal thing that people were sending her, and then seeing the messages of these people calling me a narcissist and saying, "Oh, I want attention" and all this other stuff. And it was really bad. And she's like, "Do you know you got a lot of people that don't like you?" And I like the 2 weeks that I had to go through that really messed me up. And it also messed up jobs that I was working on. And from that day onward, I said to myself, I will never let anyone get into my head the way that she did, because it was like, again, I was explaining, like one of the best relationships I ever had. So when you go from high and then you crash so low and being called a narcissist, but when the actions that were being done were narcissistic towards me. So it was very interesting, and not every situation you can repair. There's a lot of people that I've been in relationships where women have done things that that were foul, but I've forgiven them. This was one of those situations that I could never repair that relationship because it hit me so hard. It was really hard to recover from that one because I was already going financially that month. I was not really going through the best month because people weren't paying their bills due to COVID. And just to have all that come down on you, in addition to that, that was like it was like traumatic. It really messed with me because you think the people that are in your Facebook or we know that they're not your friends, but it just all came crashing down. And people were believing into a narrative that, it was tough. Right. But I guess in the position that I'm in, you kind of have to take what you take from those scenarios. But that's one situation where I could never forgive somebody or patch it up.
Mm. I think one thing that we're really talking about in this segment of the show is forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been the most forgiving person throughout the bulk of my life. And in the last, I would say 5-6 years, I've become way more forgiving. And there's a lot of power in it. And sometimes I get it because the bridge is so burnt that you just can't. But I do find that when you are able to forgive someone for yourself, it can free you up in a lot of ways, and because a lot of this stuff are like tethers that are just dragging you down. You know what I mean? Like, holding on to anger and bitterness and all of that kind of stuff. And because I've been places where I would be in the same room with someone, and I would see them, and then I would, I would have anger because of something that's happened, between us. So my question to you, Andre,
Yeah.
is just speak to what forgiveness or making up with someone or making amends with someone. Whether, let's say, you were totally wrong.
Yeah.
So, you're totally wrong, but getting to a point where you can forgive someone, even when they're not necessarily asking for forgiveness.
So you talk about as far as from the person who needs to do the forgiving.
Yeah, like, I mean, letting it go for yourself more so than just for them. Can you speak for that?
Okay. Oh yeah, because that's huge too. Because if so, letting things go is less about what the person did to you and more about the peace that you can receive from letting it go. Um, and here's the thing, though: you got to learn when it's time to let the person go or let the situation go.
Mm.
All right, and you got to know the difference, and it's hard because it's a thin line, it's a fine line. Okay,
Sometimes you have to do both.
yeah. Well, the dope thing is that if you let go of the person, you let go of the situation at the same time.
Mhm.
So, but that's why you got to really know when to do that. So, again, I love that Sherelle mentioned this. Like, your peace has to be above all else, right? And sometimes letting the person go or letting the situation go, depending on the severity of the situation, will give you peace. All right, especially if it's a small thing. All right, because certain things, certain hills, we don't need to really die on. Certain hills, like it's going to be there, so we'll just keep walking over it as long as it doesn't grow. When it starts to grow, we got to be like, listen, we need to nip this in the bud right now. But um, when it comes to forgiveness and moving on, that's more for your peace than it is for them. Okay, and I think that's something that a lot of us don't like to do because the truth is, because we are human beings, if somebody has hurt us, we really want them to be hurt the same way. We want them to feel what we feel. So what we try to do is we try to force empathy on the person by putting them in a situation where they're going to be hurt the same way we've been hurt. And that's not how we can't induce empathy. Like that empathy is the one thing that you cannot induce, because once you do that, it's no longer empathy is no longer the focus, it's revenge. So when it comes to things like that, I'm just going to let it go. You know what? And not only am I going to let it go, I think you and I, for us to both be at peace, we need to be at peace alone and separate. I can no longer allow you to um, press down my peace. So I forgive you, but I'm probably never going to be able to trust you again. And because I can't trust you again, I think we should just move on.
Amen. And sometimes you gotta let some people go. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not gonna go into too much of these details. There's a person in my life I've known my whole life. They're older than me. They knew me when I was a baby. This person, maybe 15 years ago, did something really dirty to me. Right? I'm talking about really dirty. I'm not gonna get into what this person did, and I can't stand this individual. Right? I can't stand this individual, right? I can't. This person is. Um, I mean, I'm sometimes in the same space with this person, right? I'm sometimes in the same space with this person, and to be honest with you, I don't even be in the same room with them. I'm very upset, and everybody knows it. It's not even a secret. This person's never apologized for what they've done to me. This person is, and I wasn't the only offended party. I'm not the only offended party. There was other people that they did the same thing to.
Wow.
Those people have forgiven them, right? even though she's never asked for forgiveness, but they've in their head they've forgiven them and said, you know what, it is what it is. And they mess with them, right? And I honestly I can't stand that individual because of what happened. And I've had people in my family say, because they were around, right, this person, and they said, look, you need to just go ahead and make up with her, right? And I'm like, well, she's never asked for forgiveness. And then I just said to myself, I don't even want to. I tried. I literally tried. I said, you know what? It's been 15 years or whatever. It's been a long ass time, right? But what this person did is just angers me so much that I couldn't do it. Maybe if they came to me and was like, look, she know what she did, so it's not even a question of that. But I know in my heart that I should come to some sort of peace with that person, right? I know that it's probably beneficial to myself, right? But there is something in me that just won't let me do it.
I feel like we all have that one person though. Like we all have that one person that's just like, you know what? No. No.
Bow.
Yeah. And I feel like is there something deficient with myself that I can't do it? Like I thought about it because I actually tried. Like
the fact that you've tried and the fact that you've thought about it, I don't think that there's any deficiencies there. I feel like there really is just that one person where they do something to us that's just that bad. I think we all have that one person where just like no, like I said, just no. There's no other explanation for it. There's no, you tried, you just can't do it for whatever reason within you. You feel like what they did to you was just that wrong. Nobody can tell you how to feel about a situation. Nobody can tell you that, oh, it's not that bad. It's not, worth 15 years of whatever. Nobody can tell you that.
right.
So, like I said, we all I have that one person who's just like, hell no, hell no.
I'm gonna tell you, that this person went through something very tragic about 3-4 years ago. And I felt bad for the person, right? And I couldn't call them to, how people were calling them to and I couldn't. I just
But
couldn't.
the fact that you felt it,
Right.
that's enough.
I couldn't do it.
That's all I needed was the spirit.
I picked it. I literally I picked up the phone, and then I went, I can't do it. Even with that, I still couldn't do it. So, it's just things are just gonna be awkward when they're around.
I think forgiveness is everybody has their time. And when you want to release that person, because like one of the persons in my life that has done the most harm to me was a family member. And just this year or last year, I think I finally forgave this person. And it took me a while to get there, but it does take you a while, or maybe there's therapy, because like you have to think about it. Like, would you put your hand on a burner? And I think, like after your mom told you not to, you burnt yourself. Do you think you're going to do that again? No. Right. It's because they caused you pain. And, some people cause you pain or they upset you, but others people go right to the other edge of society to just cause you enough pain that it hurts you. And so it's hard to forgive people in that vein, but you kind of have to get that therapy, whether it's through a professional or just talking it out on your own, where you try to sort it out within yourself. Why did this cause me so much pain, and see how you could stop it. Because what I realized in my situation was that I let this person get in my head where I was working on a celebrity client's live stream, and I butchered the live stream, and I had to give that client 2 months of free work because of me butchering that one live stream. That was a wake up, that if you harbor in these hard feelings for an individual, they could really upset parts of your life, so it's best to like evaluate these situations and move on and let it go, because yeah, either way, I know that someone wants to speak, but that'd be my point. It's just you have to find some way to move on from those things because they can hold you back.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I know it too. Maybe I will get beyond it. It ain't this year though. But all right, I want to thank this panel. You guys were amazing. Our last Monday show, I just want to let people know we're no longer going to be on Monday nights. We're going to be on Wednesday, starting next Wednesday, which is the 24th. And we have Stephanie will be on that episode as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Just very excited about the change. New co-host, Mosaic Star, and but I want to start off with you, Tori. How can we get you on social media and all that stuff?
Okay, so you can get me at Tori Rush on Facebook and at Rush Tori on Instagram. That's all I'm doing right now. I have a Snapchat, but I never use it.
All right. Thank you so much. And Sherelle, thank you so much. This is your first time on the show. Hopefully we'll have you on much more. So how can we get you in social media, and tell us about your podcast?
So all of my social media is at I am Sherelle J on Instagram and Twitter, although I'm usually only on Instagram. And like I said, I do have my podcast, No Cap Life. I just haven't been putting out material like I'm supposed to. Had a lot going on, but I'm definitely working on getting that back going. So definitely check out my Instagram for more updates.
All right. Now the fellas. Start off with you, Ryan. How can we get you on social media, and what should we be on the lookout for?
We are still working on our living documentary at Hustle Zone TV, but you can catch us or catch our community on Instagram. We are close to we're embarking 50,000 followers.
All right.
Collectively on all of our social media. Like every day we're growing, but you can come and laugh and kick it on at Hustle Zone TV and at Hustle Zone on Instagram.
Love it. And finally, Andre, how can we get you on social media? What should we be on the lookout? And once again, tell us about the Kirk Franklin video that we should check out. Okay.
All right. So I'll be quick. So I really want everybody to go to my YouTube channel, Harrison Family Vlogs. Is it there? Right there? This here? Hopefully. Yeah. Just go to YouTube and search it. From my understanding, the algorithms like it when you do searchable stuff. So search Harrison Family Vlogs. I'm the only one on all of YouTube. So subscribe to the channel there. Hit the bell notification also. And also I have Instagram at Andre_D_Harrison on Twitter, at Andre D Harrison on Facebook, at the.andre.d.harrison. But definitely go to my YouTube channel, subscribe. The video I just did of Kirk Franklin is just a video about how it's titled "Does the Phone Call Make Kirk Franklin a Hypocrite?" And I just share my thoughts on the hypocrite term and how people who attend church, people who believe in God, everyone. If you claim one to be a hypocrite because they did something like this, then you got to claim everybody to be a hypocrite because everybody has done something that wasn't that great of a representation to their faith in God. So all it does is it doesn't expose hypocrisy. It exposes imperfection and areas that we need growth in. So watch the video. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section below the video. And I like to engage with people and topics. So
all right, and I put it in the chat on Facebook. So you guys
thank you, appreciate it.
Right to his channel. You can get me at Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson on Instagram, and of course the website is indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. Join me next week for our new episode with my new co-host, and the topic will be Single Too Long. We'll be talking about
look at the face. Sherelle's eyes.
You're not gonna be picking topics directed directly towards me, okay?
And in the following week we have a really interesting topic. We're gonna have different sets of twins. So we're gonna have we're gonna have female identical twins, male identical twins, and fraternal twins, and we're gonna be talking about what that's like. So that should be interesting. So you guys might think you have double vision that episode, but you don't. So we have a bunch of great other topics coming up, and I'm just looking forward to this year. You guys have a great rest of your week, and God bless you.
You too.
Peace.